Tensions are skyrocketing across the Middle East as missile sirens wail, bridges are destroyed, and deadly strikes ripple from Lebanon to Iran, raising fears of a protracted conflict that could reshape regional geopolitics. With rockets launched from Iran and Hezbollah, Israeli forces retaliating fiercely, and civilians caught in the crossfire, the escalating war is fueling international alarm and uncertainty. What's driving this conflict deeper into chaos, and what does the future hold for this fragile region? Welcome back to our channel. Today, we are diving into the fast-moving and complex escalation of hostilities between Israel, Iran, Hezbollah, and their regional allies. Over the past weeks, the conflict has expanded beyond traditional battle lines to involve multiple fronts, from Lebanon and southern Israel to airspace over the Gulf and attacks deep inside Iran, as well as increasing violence in Iraq and the occupied Palestinian territories. This intense period, now well into its fourth week, has seen heavy casualties, infrastructure devastation, and rising global concern. Let's break down the latest developments, examine their implications, and understand what they mean for the region and the world. The latest flare-up began with reported rocket fire from Hezbollah in southern Lebanon into northern Israel, setting off sirens in towns like Kiryat Shmona and beyond. In response, Israel has launched numerous airstrikes targeting sites across Lebanon's Bekaa Valley, including the destruction of key bridges over the Litani River that serve strategic and logistic functions. Israel's defense minister has publicly declared full control over the bridges and surrounding areas south of the river, signaling an intent to establish a sustained ground presence to counter Hezbollah's operations. These ground offensives have seen clashes erupt in at least 13 villages in southern Lebanon. Meanwhile, Iran has intensified its role in the conflict, launching waves of missile attacks targeting Israeli areas, including Tel Aviv. Recent strikes have caused notable damage in Israeli cities, including injuries from missile shrapnel and fires triggered by debris. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corporation issued stark warnings, labeling Israeli strikes as war crimes, and threatened further drone and missile attacks if civilian targets continue to be hit. Tehran's response has included counterstrikes inside Iraq, where U.S.-Israeli raids hit the headquarters of the pro-Iran Popular Mobilization Forces in Anbar province, killing at least 10 commanders, highlighting the widening scope of violence. The involvement of multiple actors illustrates the conflict's complexity. Hezbollah's missile attacks, although initially limited, have escalated Israel's coordinated military campaign aimed at crippling the group's infrastructure. The targeted destruction of the Al-Dalafa Bridge and other crossings over the Litani River is a strategic blow designed to disrupt Hezbollah's movement and supply lines. At the same time, Israeli air raids on Beirut's southern suburbs and towns south of Beirut have resulted in civilian casualties, stirring international condemnation and humanitarian concerns. In Iran, the impact of the war is severe. Over 1,500 people have reportedly been killed and nearly 19,000 injured since the conflict began on February 28, according to Iranian emergency services. Residential areas in northwestern provinces like East Azerbaijan have been hit multiple times, with dozens of casualties. Iran's energy infrastructure has faced attacks on gas facilities and pipelines, although the country's officials emphasize resilience, citing decentralized electricity production and rapid rebuilding capabilities. Despite diplomatic signals, including statements by the Trump administration about ongoing productive talks with Tehran, Iranian officials have strongly denied any formal negotiations, describing U.S. overtures as bluffing. Regionally, the conflict has produced ripple effects. In Iraq, attacks on Kurdish Peshmerga forces have killed and wounded dozens amid escalating tensions. The Gulf states, including Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, and Kuwait, have experienced drone incursions and missile alerts, with debris damaging Kuwait's power grid and operations at companies like Amazon in Bahrain disrupted. This suggests a broadening battlefield across the Middle East maritime and air domains. The humanitarian toll continues to mount. Thousands of injured civilians have flooded hospitals in Israel, Lebanon, and Iran. Palestinian workers in the West Bank face increased settler violence amid the turmoil, and civilian infrastructure in all affected regions is under strain. International agencies and figures are calling urgently for ceasefire talks. The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has publicly urged immediate negotiations to end hostilities and reopen key transit routes like the Strait of Hormuz. However, rhetoric remains heated. Iranian parliament members caution against trusting the U.S.,